G'day everyone, it's Warren Davies, the Unbreakable Farmer. Welcome to On the Wire. Today's special guest is Gordon Jenkins, the visible guy. Gordon and I have been exchanging ideas for the last few months, and we did have Gordon on one of our earlier shows, but we've got him back again today to share a little bit more of his wisdom with us and to talk about his charity as well. So welcome, Gordon. Thanks for joining us again today.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here again. Good to see you again. Smiling.
Fantastic, mate. It's really good. So I suppose for anyone that didn't see the last time you were on, just give us a little bit of your background and what you're kind of doing now.
Sure. So let's start with who I am. And, I'm the visible guy. And what is the visible guy? The visible guy is about finding out what people are about and then telling their world about what they do and who they are. And it's not about branding. It's about networking. It's about having a purpose in life and following that. We talk a lot about passion, purpose, values, and people, and that's what I do. And I suppose where I got to, how I got here, in a short story, I spent 20 years in the corporate world, and I had to leave the corporate world probably about 5-6 years ago. My wife had a very bad illness. She had a double lung transplant 10 years ago, and for whatever reason, it's then I discovered that what really motivates me, where my passion is, it's not about the dollars. It's not about creating the dollars. It's really about seeing people exceed what they think is their full potential.
Yeah.
And that's what I do today. I go around the speaking circuit into businesses and to individuals and talk about people removing obstacles.
And I suppose when you talk about your wife's illness and it's not about the dollars and that, do you reckon that comes down to some of your core values though? Like that's probably what you've been like all the time. It didn't take your wife to get ill, or was that a defining and changing event?
That's people think this is planned, but this not. This is just a talk we're having, and it's absolutely critical. It's funny you say that because I'm about to put out an Instagram, and on the Instagram it's going to say motivation isn't found. Motivation is found when your purpose is discovered.
Yeah.
Right. And I always thought it was about the dollars. That's why I went into the corporate world, working for financial banks, working for banks, private equity, the whole lot. And you know what? I'm off that gravy train.
Yeah.
And everything I'm doing about is that purpose. It's a value. So I've got one value, and I've only got one value, and that value is honesty.
Yeah.
Everything else falls into it. And what really changed is in the world I worked in, we always talked about client first. And that really struck a note with me, because you talk about client first, but then what about the employees?
Yeah.
Employees second. So for me, it's not about client first. It's about people first.
Yeah.
You put people first, and really understanding that it's not about, there's different ways to motivate people, and there's different ways to motivate people to do things. And if you get them to do things that they're really passionate about, then it has the same outcome. So that's where, I come up with a theme of your path, but our journey. So if we can get people to motivate and to agree to do things the way that they want to do, that's right for them, but we're on the same journey, then the outcomes we get are just absolutely unbelievable. And that's what I do.
And I think that's even in the industry that I come from, the dairy industry, it's something that's kind of overlooked a little bit, especially as businesses got bigger. Because obviously farms started off as family businesses, and all you had to do was manage yourself. But then businesses got bigger, and then people were involved, et cetera, and they didn't develop that skill, and people were treated like one of the animals, which is good but probably not as well as some of the animals on the farm, and they were expected to do stuff that you wouldn't do yourself. And when I managed farms, I wouldn't expect anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. Like I never got the shit jobs, I suppose, if you want to. I wouldn't send someone to do the shit job unless I was prepared to do it myself.
It's absolutely right about that, and you have to do the jobs, but it's about doing the jobs that do it the way you want to do it. And, often in business, you find that, you have a strategy plan and people come out and say, okay, that's how you've got to go and do your job. Well, it's a bit like me being at school and they're saying to me, you know, that's how you learn English. Well, I was dyslexic, so I could never learn English, but because there's only one way for you to learn English,
Yeah.
the system said I was thick.
Yeah.
I was a mathematical genius and thick. Well, no, but if someone had actually realized that I can learn English a different way,
Yeah.
then I might have come out slightly differently. And it's the same way in business. And, you know, it's the same way that when you go out and people say, you know, you've got to do networking and everyone goes to networking events. Well, some people don't like going to those networking events.
Yeah.
Right. But there's other ways to get your message out. And, you know, through my business, I developed 30 different pathways to network and 20 different ways to differentiate yourself. And what we're saying to people is you've got to do what's right for you and fits with you.
Yeah.
And that's your path. But understand that the journey we're taking is the group journey. Yeah. And we go in there. And businesses say that we can't do that. We can't have multiple systems in place and multiple ways of managing people because the systems don't do it. Well, you know, that's an excuse.
Yeah.
If you really, really want to do it, you'll remove that obstacle and you'll make sure you can do it.
And I suppose if you take that right back to the grassroots, that's the failing I see of the education system.
Exactly, yeah.
Is because, like, you know, everyone learns differently. Everyone's, you know, learns at a different pace and et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't conform to what they call average, then you slip through the cracks and you get left behind. And that's a failing of education systems everywhere, I think.
It absolutely is, you know, and I've raised that all the way through. And it's even, you know, even you take it through to my wife's illness. And, you know, when she was going through the illness in the last 10 years, and, you know, I started off as the invisible guy because that's what I thought it was about. But the invisible guy became very much about feeling sorry for me. And that's not what it was about. It's about overcoming the adversity. That, you know, there's one way to teach people. So for the carers, there's no, as I was a carer for my wife, there's only one way to look after me. Well, that is you go to the doctor, you fill out a form. Yes, you're depressed. You go and see a psychologist.
Yeah.
Well, the psychologist I'm going to see has got no relation to me. They haven't got the same values. They can't. We're just not connected.
Yeah.
But that's what the system says.
Yeah.
Well, I need help, but I don't need the help that the system's got for me. I need a different type of help. And, you know, in the end, it came through my friends who helped me with that. And that's what I do. That's what the Visible Guide is about. It's about making sure that, you know, people know who you are. And they know exactly what you're doing, and you're taking the tribe along with you. You're building up your tribe. You're building up the purpose behind you, and you're going on the journey. And, you know, it's not really about, and I use all these analogies, and Muhammad Ali says something really funny, or not really clever. And he said, don't count the days and make the days count.
Yeah.
And as you know, and as I know, you know, we're only here once on this planet.
Yeah.
And I don't wait for anything any longer. If you want to go and do it, you don't make excuses, accept that change is a positive move, and just go forward and make it happen. If you've got the passion, right? The passion is the motivation. If you've got the passion and the purpose, you will make things happen. You won't stand there making excuses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Well, you'll keep chasing the dreams and exhausting avenues until you find the one that's going to work for you.
Your path. And there's nothing wrong with going down the path. If you go down the path and it's a dead end, you come back. If you keep on going down the same path, it'll keep on being a dead end, then, you know, you need some help.
Yeah, someone needs to tap you on the shoulder.
you know, as being as a farmer, it's never a straight process of just sowing the seeds and just bringing the cattle in or whatever else. Right? Yeah. It's not an A to B line. The line's all over the place, up and down. It's like snake and ladders, right? You go up the ladder, and sometimes you fall down a snake. Sometimes a big snake, sometimes a small snake.
Yeah.
But you know where you're going as long as you keep on going in the right direction, and that's life.
Yeah. And I reckon you hit on a really good point just back a little bit about when you said you'll send you to a psychologist or a psychiatrist and they've got to connect. Well, the stuff that I'm doing with outside the locker room, going into footy clubs, it's amazing how when someone comes into a club with the same passion and values for what they're doing, and how it creates connection, and like you get people that will come and speak to you that won't go and speak to anyone else because well, they haven't spoken to anyone else because they just didn't feel that was the right person for them. But because you go in on the same kind of level playing field, they come and talk to you, or you break down those barriers and you can get them to people that can help them.
You know, that's really important because, you know, as a CEO of a large business, you're expected to know all the answers, and to stand up and say, I don't know all the answers is sometimes seen as a weakness, and I don't think it is.
Yeah.
Same way that if you're going down and you've got something personal to talk about that, especially for blokes, you're not supposed to show the weakness. You're not allowed to cry or anything else like that.
Yeah.
And actually finding those people that you don't want people to turn around and say, it's all right. You don't want people to tell you what to do either. What you want people to do is understand the situation you're in, and actually talk you through the process to say, well, okay, what's the biggest obstacle? What would it look like if we remove this, and what's stopping you to do this, and how do we get through? You can't keep on blaming everyone. You've got to show the initiative. And I think what's really brilliant about Australia, and I think it's really great about humans in general, if you show the initiative that you're really trying to do something, then you will find the people around you that understand what you're doing and want to be part of you and really help you. And don't be ashamed to accept that help. And that's what the Visible Guy is about. When you're going out and you're talking to people, you're networking in a particular purposeful way, whether I'm talking about a business growing or I'm talking about a charity to try to get their theme and their message across, right? It's about doing it in a purposeful, meaningful way that connects with people.
And so they can get their message out there and connect with the right people, like instead of belting your head against a brick wall.
I mean, both of us have belted our head against a brick wall, but you know what? We had a chat before this video and we're still laughing.
Yeah, no,
we're still laughing. We're still smiling. It's about having fun as well.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's lost along the way these days a little bit as well. It's having that bit of fun as well.
Life's too short. You just got to keep on smiling, keep on cracking on, and motivating people.
Yeah, and
inspiring them to do it.
So you've touched on it a couple of times about your charity. Give us a little bit of how that all began, or obviously with your wife's illness, but
sure.
How did that all start, and what's it called, and what do you do, and exactly?
So I suppose this all links into what the Visible Guy is about. And it's a great example. This, the charity was originally called the Margaret Pratt Heart and Lung Transplant Research Foundation Trust, which I think is quite funny with a lot of people with lung disease. It's got quite a long name. And, Margaret Pratt, who's Margaret Pratt? What does it mean? Unless you know Margaret Pratt, the foundation doesn't really resonate with anyone. It's not part of the Pratt family at all. So for once, as being visible it's not being visible. Now, the research that's being done behind it and the funding that the charity does is a world-class funding. It's the best in the world. So I got involved in it because of Wendy's illness. And when Margaret passed away in 2009, it was basically left up to me and Wendy to carry on the foundation because we had a purpose behind it. And as time grew on, our message became harder and harder and harder. So we took the view with the board's agreement about 12 months ago to change the foundation, not rename it, to change the foundation. And this is about the visibility part. We knew that if we wanted to carry on this foundation, we had to connect with corporates. We had to connect with people around the world about our purpose and our values and our outcomes. So we wanted to connect in a way that was meaningful. So we changed the name to the Longitude Foundation. And our logo is little balloons, orange balloons, and the balloons signal the lungs part of it. We went through a process of having our governance structured properly. We've got IP and trademarks all over our products. We've got a special board. We've got a board set up. So when people come to us, we're a proper organization. We've got the DGR1 tax status. So we've got the high-end tax status. We mean corporations can donate to us, and we're there for purpose. And our purpose is to improve lives of lung transplant recipients and their carers.
Yeah.
What we found through this process was that everyone's asking how the transplant patient's doing, but no one's asking how the carer is doing.
Yeah.
And I always make a joke when people ring me up and they say, "How's Wendy doing?" I say, "I'm doing fine, thanks."
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't care about you. Well, you should care about me, because if I'm not well, I can't look after Wendy. And that's a thing that all carers, and it doesn't matter what illness you've got, that's the case that every single carer will do. So the foundation's based out of Melbourne, and we fund research into lung transplant rejection. The research is at the moment done at the Alfred Hospital in Melbourne, which is the world's leading transplant centre. And we've got some amazing results. The life expectancy of transplant patients from the Alfred Hospital are world leading. And the world leading because of the research that's been happening. We've done collaboration with people all over the world, funded collaboration all over the world. And that's my purpose. And I make a point of me, when I do my business, the Visible Guy business. One of the things I look to differentiate myself, because there are lots of speakers out there in the world and lots of motivational coaches and business coaches, is I donate at least 5% of my revenue, not my profit, my revenue, to the foundation.
Yeah.
And I say contribute, not donate, because contribute can be in a variety of different things. And that's the real purpose. And that's my purpose. My purpose is to make sure, Wendy is, we laugh and joke with Wendy because we had a big holiday a few years ago, and that was going to be probably our last holiday together. She's still alive, so I haven't claimed on the super or the insurance, and now she's destined to live till she's 85. And I go, oh, really? We laugh and joke about, and you know what it's like when you've been in breakable situations, it is life and death.
Yeah.
What it means is, bloody hell, if we want to do something,
we
do it. We don't put it off. And that's the same attitude you take into business. If you want to do something, don't put it off. If you want to ring up a client, right, pick up the phone and call the client, because guess what? Your competition is not saying, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week. They're doing it now.
Yeah.
But when we connect with people, we never connect asking for money for the foundation. We connect on the purpose and the outcomes and what we're about.
Yeah.
And if people are connected to that on the same values, and they have the passion, and they believe in the integrity of the business and the organization, then they want to come along for the journey.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same in business.
Yeah. No, it's a very worthwhile cause, especially like if you're looking at also looking after the whole package, as in the recipient of the lung transplant, but also the carers as well. Because as you said, without if the carers aren't well and healthy, well, there's no one there to look after them, and you require more funding to be able to look after them.
I mean, I can't think of a better situation, a better problem to have, that the hospital has got blockages in its after transplant clinic because more people are surviving because of the research that we're funding.
Yeah,
that to me is a brilliant problem to have.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, the hospital can't cater for it and everything else, and we're looking at changing all that. But isn't that a great problem?
Yeah.
And we talk about the pathways and the laneways. If you think about from the organ donation, we've just opened up an 8-lane freeway.
Yeah.
People have got the organ donation, they're getting transplants, they're living longer, but the blockage is on the other end.
Yeah.
Well, let's start removing those obstacles and start getting these people, because if these people are living longer, they're coming back into the community, they're spending more money in the community. Hey, they might even be spending more money in your business as well.
That's right. That's exactly right.
and that's, puts a smile on my face. And that's what I take back into an organization. When I sit down with an organization and talk about how they're growing and how they want to grow, is, what is it that your clients want? What is it your clients want? How do you know what your clients want? How are you going to differ? You don't want to be unique, because if you're unique, then we've got nothing to compare yourself to. We want to make sure how can you differentiate yourself, what you do, to what your competition does.
Yeah.
And how do you know it? And we know we're the #1 transplant research foundation in Australia.
But that goes for any business, because that having that differentiation gives you that uniqueness anyway.
It does.
Because if you're just being, let's go back to the education scenario, everyone's just being created to be average. Well, everyone's average. It's just finding that how you not to be average.
But it's average, and it's how you communicate it. I just spoke at the virtual assistance conference, Trying Virtual Assistance Conference, and before I went, I did a global survey on people that use virtual assistants, and I said to them, I asked them lots of questions, but I said, what would be the top 3 questions you'd ask a potential virtual assistant? And when I was standing up doing this talk, I was saying to the audience, what type of questions does your potential clients want to know? And they all said, we want to know how much you cost, what service you do, have you got any references, etc. And I said, no. The #1 question that came back was from clients is, how do I integrate you into my business?
Yeah.
Now, if you change your website, so the first time you looked on your website and your first point was, this is how we integrate into your business, that's a selling point.
Yeah.
That's a differentiation. And I said in the audience, how many of you have that on your front page? Not a single person.
Yeah.
And that's the type of stuff I go into. Now, I don't know how to change a website. I don't know how to do social media. I get other people to do that. Yeah. But if that's what the clients want, if that's what clients' perception is,
yeah, that's what you do.
That's what you do.
Yeah, because all of a sudden they go to your second page instead of just clicking off and going to another website, because all of a sudden that's what they're after, and you've got them.
You've got them.
Yeah.
And it's that process that I go through to do it all. And As you know, we've learned by our mistakes through the 20 odd years, 25 years in business, a variety of different types of businesses. And, you learn by your mistakes and you know what works. And when organizations say, we're special because we're a different sector, I'm going, it's exactly the same. Yeah. Things come in, you do a bit, you do something in the middle and things go out.
Yeah.
Sorry to keep it simple.
And you've got to kind of walk your talk a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Because if you make a statement, a bold statement, on your website or whatever, you've got to be prepared to back it up.
Well, this comes back to the honesty side of it.
Yeah.
There's no point in me going out there saying I'm going to get, 30 times your revenue, increasing your revenue.
Yeah.
We can teach the people the best ways to go out and network. We can even show them that they can actually do it.
Yeah.
But if they don't actually want to go and do it, and they don't actually want to go and change, then the results are never going to happen.
Correct.
So it's this thing about wanting to change and to accepting change is a positive move, and it removes the obstacles. And you do it the way that you want to do it, not necessarily the way that people tell you to do it. So I network very well. I don't like sitting in audiences. I've got no problem in a pub, in a bar, in a network event, going to talk to people. I'm absolutely useless at writing articles because of my dyslexia and my English.
Yeah.
But I know very good people that have made a name for themselves networking by being making expert statements in newspapers.
Yeah.
And now they're on the speaking circuit, and now they're an international expert. That fits them.
Yeah.
Don't try to copy something just because someone else has said this is what I've done. If it doesn't fit what you do.
And I've found that myself, like that. It's no use. Like, you can obviously model yourself a little bit around what other people do, or take their good points, but it's useless trying to say, righto, geez, Gordon's switched on, he's doing a great job, I'm going to do exactly what he does, because you and I are two different people. We operate on different wavelengths. We are a bit similar, but you know what I mean? Like, we all do things differently. So yeah.
It's like going to IKEA, right? We all go and buy the same flat pack furniture, wardrobe, and I got to tell you, you'll get 20 men in a room, and you get 20 different versions of that wardrobe. And I can tell you, mine's going to be the one with 4 pieces of wood and 20 screws left over. And I'm going, I don't understand. And we've got exactly the same instructions.
Yeah, that's it.
So I know, man, these hands, look at these hands, right? These hands have spent 50 years and 40 years in an office. They've never spent any time to getting dirty. I don't try to do an IKEA flat pack.
Yeah.
Right. I know what I want, and I know what the outcome is. I want a wardrobe that's stood up and sturdy.
But there's a perfect analogy for business. Like, when we were talking about business before, and instructing employees and how you treat your people, because you can have your stock standard instructions. This is how you do something.
Yep.
And I know that this from working in the farm environment and having backpackers and 457 visa workers and all that sort of stuff, language barriers and all that. Your instructions to each person are totally different.
Oh, so the instruction is the motivation. If the instruction is you now have to build that yourself and put it together, then I'm not going to get motivated for that.
Yeah.
The instruction is go and buy a flat pack and put a wardrobe in this room. I'll go, fair enough. I'll go and buy the flat pack and I'll get someone else to design it and put it up, because the instruction was the outcome of a wardrobe. It wasn't you had to build it.
Yeah.
So in the case of that, I go, well, I'm not motivated by that carrot because I can't build a wardrobe.
Yeah.
I like apples. I want to do it a different way.
Yeah.
I'll get someone else to do it. The outcomes, so talk to me about the outcome. It's a bit like a racing car, right? Do you want to get a racing car when you get people together and you're really telling people they have to build a car? Are you going to really whip them, or are you going to say, let's get the car to the starting line?
Yeah.
Right. And the object of that car and starting line is to finish first. Yeah. Right, as a team. And in between that, everyone's got their own little roles, but you do it in your own little way.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. When you've got the same way of whipping someone or the same way of dangling that stick in front of people, it just doesn't work.
Yeah. You've got to let people bring their own uniqueness to the team. Yeah.
It's the innovation. I'm 47 years old, and I think I've been really fortunate through my life that the companies I've worked for have created innovation, have allowed innovation.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that's lacking in organizations today, that as leaders, we're stadium managers. If you think about a big stadium, we switch the lights on, we've got the playing field, we put the team on the playing field, they know the boundaries because it's the playing field, and you say, innovate.
Yeah.
and you let them innovate, you let them own it.
Yeah.
And you're there to motivate them, you're there to inspire them, but you're there so they own it. Right? And then it's not an excuse where you told us to do this. No, you decided on the results.
Yeah.
And all the companies that I work with, when you go and ask the teams about what they can deliver, it's often a lot more than what the business think the team can deliver. I mean, think about it from a business perspective. You go and tell someone to go and sell 10 cars, right? And that's before you've actually asked them how many cars can they sell.
Yeah.
If they can sell 20 cars, great. You've just got someone paying at 50, working at 50% capacity.
Yeah.
If you've got someone who can only sell 5 cars and you tell them to sell 10, you've demotivated them straight away.
Yeah.
Now, if you work out what the problems are and what the obstacle is for them to why they can only sell 5, they may get to 8.
Yeah.
But once they get to 8, to get to 10 is easy.
Yeah.
So they think their potential is 8. Well, we'll show them that actually that's not the full potential. If they can get to 8, they understand that we can get them to 12, we can get them to 15.
Yeah.
But organizations don't want to do that.
Yeah.
The really good ones, the ones that are changing, the ones that are growing, are the ones that, we work with to push through.
There are implementing that. Right, mate, we'll wrap it up shortly. Okay. And I'll ask you a question, like the question which you've gone over in that, but you've gone over in what you've spoken about. But what would be some advice that you would give? You're 47 now, I'll say 17-year-old Gordon. What advice would you give him?
God, what advice? I think the biggest one I've got was don't stop believing because other people found an excuse.
Yeah.
Right. If you believe in yourself to do it, take the opportunities. And someone said to me the other day, we were talking, and they said, "Go big or go home."
Yeah.
Right. Go in it. You've got one chance on this earth. Right. Don't want my head sound to be sorry. Just go out and just do it. And if you believe in it and it's honest and it's you, just be honest with yourself, honest with the people around you, but go forward and do it. We live in proof that, the opportunities are there.
Yeah. All right, mate. Thank you very much.
Hey, it's an absolute pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure to be, it's not only a pleasure to talk to you, it's an absolute pleasure to be associated with you. I follow a lot about what you do. You're absolutely inspiring.
Thanks, mate.
So I absolutely love being connected with you and being networked with you. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, mate. Well, thanks for joining us again and giving us your time. And look forward to catching up with you soon, face to face, and talk through a few of our ideas. But
watch out, world! The unbreakable farmer's about to come to get you.
Hold on to your hats. Good on you, mate. Thanks for joining me again.
Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.